It's one of the biggest mysteries in American history. What happened to Jimmy Hoffa? Hard to believe, but it's been nearly 5 decades. We're talking 50 years since the labor leader vanished, believed to be on his way to a meeting with 2 top Detroit and New Jersey mobsters.
Jimmy Hoffa was a powerful and controversial figure in American labor history, known for his control over the Teamsters union and alleged ties to organized crime. His mysterious disappearance in 1975 remains one of America's most infamous cold cases, leading to countless theories about his fate, including suggestions he was buried under a football stadium or incinerated. A new account from a 93-year-old former Teamsters attorney may provide crucial information, featuring a witness who claims to have seen Hoffa's body buried at a construction site near the Pulaski Skyway in New Jersey. The power and mystique of Jimmy Hoffa.
Mr. Hoffa, what is there about the present labor bill that a union with honest leadership can't live with?
It's located there are 18 various points in the labor bill that was passed by the Senate of the United States. Now, in the opinion of our lawyers and the opinion of the experienced organizers and officers of our union, lead us to believe that this bill is not a corrective piece of legislation.
To understand the seismic weight of any revelation in the Jimmy Hoffa case, we have to grasp who he was. Born in 1913 in Brazil, Indiana, Hoffa was a union man from his teenage years. By his early 20s, he was organizing labor and gaining a reputation as a fierce and charismatic leader. He rose through the ranks of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, ultimately becoming its president in 1957. Under Hoffa, the Teamsters became the largest and arguably most powerful labor union in the United States, representing over 2 million workers at its height. But Hoffa's success came with controversy. His tenure was shadowed by allegations of corruption, mob ties, and misuse of union funds. He was convicted in 1964 for jury tampering, conspiracy, and mail fraud, leading to a 13-year prison sentence. In 1971, after serving just 5 years, he was released following a commutation from President Richard Nixon, an act many believe was influenced by Teamsters' support for Nixon's re-election. However, Hoffa was barred from engaging in union activity until 1980. Determined to reclaim his position, he spent his final years navigating the treacherous waters of union politics and organized crime. By 1975, he had grown increasingly vocal about his intentions to return to power, a move that worried both his political rivals and former mafia allies. On July 30th of that year, he left his home in Lake Orion, Michigan, for a meeting with mob figures Anthony Provenzano and Anthony Giacalone at the Macus Red Fox restaurant in Bloomfield Township. He was never seen again. His car was found unlocked in the restaurant parking lot. Despite decades of investigation, his body was never recovered, and no one has ever been charged in connection with his disappearance. Over the years, theories about Hoffa's fate have become part of American folklore. Some claimed he was buried beneath Giant Stadium in New Jersey, others believe he was incinerated in a mob-controlled crematorium. Law enforcement dug up farms, landfills, and even suburban backyards in search of answers. Though several figures claimed to have inside knowledge of Hoffa's murder, their stories often conflicted or lacked verifiable evidence. The case has remained open but cold for nearly 50 years. The eyewitness account that shook a cold case.
So what did that last living suspect have to say?
You know, it is the greatest American mystery in our history. There's only one FBI suspect alive today. His name is Gabe Bergoglio. Back on July 30th, 1975, Jimmy Hoffa, the legendary Teamsters union leader, he wanted to get back into the Teamsters presidency, but the mafia was against it. So he thought he was going to a mob meeting with a Detroit mob boss, Anthony Giacalone, as well as with Tony Provenzano, who was a mob capo in New Jersey, as well as a Teamsters union leader. And he disappeared.
The latest break in the case came from an unexpected source, Chris Franzblau, a 93-year-old attorney who once represented the Teamsters during Hoffa's tenure. Still practicing law in New Jersey, Franzblau recently revealed that a man named Jeff approached him with a story that could change everything. According to Franzblau, Jeff recalled a moment from decades earlier when he was at a construction site near the Pulaski Skyway in Jersey City, where his father was working. Jeff told Franzblau he saw 2 cars pull up near the construction zone. One of them was a black Cadillac with Michigan plates. From his vantage point, he he saw men remove what appeared to be a body from the trunk of the Cadillac and place it into an excavation pit on the property. This wasn't the site previously searched by the FBI near the Skyway. It was an adjacent area that until now hadn't been identified in the investigation. Jeff's memory was clear. The men buried the body at a distinct point in the excavation area. "He's buried right in that point," Franz Blau quoted him as saying. Why come forward now, nearly 50 years after the disappearance? Franz Blau says Jeff's answer was chilling in its simplicity. Everybody's dead now, that's the only reason. With the key players in Hoffa's world either deceased or incapacitated, Jeff finally felt safe sharing what he had witnessed. Franz Blau, who chronicles the encounter in his newly published memoir, The Last Mob Lawyer, believes the story holds water, especially because it describes a location that was never part of any previous search efforts. This area, near the Hackensack River, at the end of Broadway in Jersey City, sits within the shadow of the Pulaski Skyway. Notably, this is not the location federal investigators scoured in earlier digs. The new site fits the context of Hoffa's Michigan ties, the presence of a Cadillac with Michigan plates, and the plausibility of organized crime figures moving the body to a construction zone with limited oversight. The FBI has searched sites in the vicinity in the past, including landfills and warehouses, but has never located a body or confirmed burial. In 2021, investigators conducted a site survey in a landfill under the Skyway based on a different witness's claims. That investigation came up empty, but Jeff's account points to a distinct and previously unexamined spot. The description of the cars, the excavation timing, and the location all match up with the known details about Hoffa's disappearance and the likely methods employed by the mob at the time. Whether or not law enforcement will take a second look at the site remains to be seen, but the precision of Jeff's memory, combined with Franz Blau's credibility as a former Teamsters attorney, gives this account a new level of legitimacy not often seen in this case. The mob connections and why Hoffa had to disappear.
Jimmy Hoffa was an infamous guy, well known, in an area that he was particularly well known, and he disappeared from a public place in broad daylight and vanished without a trace.
Hoffa's connections to organized crime were both his greatest strength and his demise. While he rose in the Teamsters with mafia support, he granted them access to the lucrative pension fund, which they used to finance various ventures. After Hoffa went to prison in 1967, Frank Fitzsimmons became a more compliant leader, allowing the mob to maintain their influence. When Hoffa was released in 1971 and sought to reclaim the position, tensions escalated, particularly with Anthony "Tony Pro" Provenzano, a former ally turned rival. Their feud began in prison, leading Hoffa to seek a peace meeting through mobster Anthony Giacalone, but this was likely a trap. The FBI's Hoffex memo identified Provenzano's associates, Thomas Andretta, Gabriel Bergoglio, and Salvador Bergoglio, as suspects in Hoffa's disappearance, along with his foster son, Chucky O'Brien. Hoffa's scent and hair were found in a car tied to the abduction, but no charges were filed. Investigators believe Hoffa was killed soon after being picked up, with his body disposed of to ensure it would never be found. A decade of failed digs and false leads.
Agents brought digging equipment to a field near Detroit yesterday. A manuscript from a reputed mobster claims Hoffa was bound and gagged, hit with a shovel, and buried alive under a cement slab. Well, authorities found a slab during Monday's dig. So far, there is no evidence of Hoffa's remains, but digging resumes today.
The search for Hoffa's body has become something of a national obsession. Since the late 70s, law enforcement and journalists have investigated dozens of leads, many of which led to elaborate and expensive digs. In 2006, the FBI searched a horse farm in Michigan based on a tip from a mob informant. That search yielded nothing. In 2013, another effort led agents to a field in Oakland Township, a site reportedly tied to Detroit mob boss Jack Tacho. Again, results were inconclusive. One of the most widely publicized theories was that Hoffa's body was buried beneath Giants Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. This rumor persisted for decades and was even addressed in a 2004 episode of Mythbusters. Ground-penetrating radar scans of the site found no evidence of human remains, and when the stadium was demolished in 2010, nothing was recovered. Other supposed confessions added to the intrigue. Frank Sheeran, a union official and mob hitman, claimed he killed Hoffa in a Detroit house. His account was dramatized in the film The Irishman. But FBI records and independent investigators cast doubt on Sheeran's story, citing inconsistencies and a lack of supporting evidence. Likewise, mob enforcer Richard Kuklinski claimed involvement, but law enforcement dismissed his story as self-serving fiction. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you believe this new eyewitness finally solves the mystery of Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance, or is it just another twist in an endless saga? Let us know in the comments section below.